learn about Active Directory Domain Services fundamentals, and then learn to configure and manage ADDS, group policy objects, and how to implement hybrid identity with Windows Server. This learning path helps prepare you for Microsoft Certified Exam AZ800, administering Windows Server Hybrid Core Infrastructure, Active Directory Domain Services. Learn about the fundamentals of Active Directory Domain Services, ADDS, in Windows Server, including forests, domains, sites, domain controllers, organizational units, OUs, users, and groups. Learning objectives. After completing this module, you'll be able to describe ADDS, describe users, groups, and computers, identify and describe ADDS forests and domains, describe OUs, manage objects and their properties in ADDS. Prerequisites. To get the best learning experience from this module, you should have knowledge and experience of Windows Server core networking technologies. This module is part of these learning paths: Active Directory Domain Services, deploy and manage identity infrastructure. Learn about the fundamentals of Active Directory Domain Services, ADDS, in Windows Server, including forests, domains, sites, domain controllers, organizational units, OUs, users, and groups. Scenario. Khan Technology Solutions is an IT services company in Seattle with major offices located throughout the world. Most of its compute environment runs on-premises on Windows Server. This includes virtualized workloads on Windows Server 2016 hosts. Khan Technology Solutions IT staff are migrating Contoso on-premises servers to Windows Server 2025. As part of the migration, Contoso is evaluating its current ADDS environment. As a Windows Server administrator, you're responsible for managing ADDS objects, such as users, groups, and OUs. After completing this module, you'll understand the fundamental ADDS structure and how users, groups, and group manage service accounts and how they relate to OUs. Define ADDS, Active Directory Domain Services. ADDS and its related services form the foundation for enterprise networks that run Windows operating systems. The ADDS database is the central store of all the domain objects, such as user accounts, computer accounts, and groups. ADDS provides a searchable, hierarchical directory and a method for applying configuration and security settings for objects in an enterprise. ADDS includes both logical and physical components. You should understand how ADDS components work together so that you can manage your infrastructure efficiently. In addition, you can use ADDS options to perform actions such as installing, configuring, and updating apps, managing the security infrastructure, enabling remote access service and direct access, issuing and managing digital certificates. What are the logical components? ADDS logical components are structures that you use to implement an ADDS design that is appropriate for an organization. The following table describes the types of logical components that an ADDS database contains. Logical component. Description. Partition. A partition, or naming context, is a portion of the ADDS database. Although the database consists of one file named ntds-dit, different partitions contain different data. For example, the schema partition contains a copy of the Active Directory schema. The configuration partition contains the configuration objects for the forest, and the domain partition contains the users, computers, groups, and other objects specific to the domain. Active Directory stores copies of partitions on multiple domain controllers and updates them through directory replication. Schema. A schema is the set of definitions of the object types and attributes that you use to define the objects created in ADDS. Domain. A domain is a logical administrative container for objects such as users and computers. A domain maps to a specific partition, and you can organize the domain with parent-child relationships to other domains. Domain tree. A domain tree is a hierarchical collection of domains that share a common root domain and a contiguous domain name system, DNS namespace. Forest. A forest is a collection of one or more domains that have a common ADDS root, a common schema, and a common global catalog. An OU is a container object for users, groups, and computers that provides a framework for delegating administrative rights and administration by linking group policy objects, GPOs. Container. A container is an object that provides an organizational framework for use in ADDS. You can use the default containers, or you can create custom containers. You can't link GPOs to containers. What are the physical components? Physical components in ADDS are those objects that are tangible or that describe tangible components in the real world. The following table describes some of the physical components of ADDS. Physical component. Description. Domain controller. A domain controller contains a copy of the ADDS database. For most operations, each domain controller can process changes and replicate the changes to all the other domain controllers in the domain. Data store. A copy of the data store exists on each domain controller. The ADDS database uses Microsoft Jet database technology and stores the directory information in the ntds.it file and associated log files. The C, our Windows ZNTDS folder, stores these files by default. Global Catalog Server. A global catalog server is a domain controller that hosts the global catalog, which is a partial, read-only copy of all the objects in a multiple domain forest. A global catalog speeds up searches for objects that might be stored on domain controllers in a different domain in the forest. Read-only domain controller, RODC. An RODC is a special read-only installation of ADDS. RODCs are common in branch offices where physical security isn't optimal, IT support is less advanced than in the main corporate centers, or line of business applications need to run on a domain controller. Site. A site is a container for ADDS objects, such as computers and services that are specific to a physical location. This is in comparison to a domain, which represents the logical structure of objects, such as users and groups, in addition to computers. Subnet. A subnet is a portion of the network IP addresses of an organization assigned to computers in a site. A site can have more than one subnet.